You're listening to the Mind Flipping Podcast, where you'll find tools and tips to help you renovate and update your mind and life.
Andy, thanks so much for being on the Mind Flipping Podcast.
Oh, my pleasure, Rick. I'm really excited to be here today.
I can tell, and as you know, I'm excited too. You know, our mutual friend Wade Lightheart, a past guest on the podcast, said you got to have Andy on. He's exactly the type of people that you like to have on. So, thanks for being here. Yeah.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm Wade. I hope your listeners loved Wade because I love Wade so much. I've had a lot of fun with Wade, and we definitely hit some interesting topics.
As all of my guests do, and we'll put a link to Wade's podcast in the show notes for our podcast. But you know, I know the commonalities between you and Wade and myself is that we love minds. We believe in the power of the mind. We incorporate NLP and mind-body things. Yeah. So you are a coach, a mental performance expert for 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs.
Right.
That's what you are now. How did you get there? How did your mind flipping and coaching start?
You want to go down the rabbit hole?
Let's
with the
do
journey?
it.
Well, it's funny. I don't know if you can tell, but my accent's from Texas. No, I'm joking. I'm originally from the UK, Liverpool.
Nice.
And it's an interesting ride growing up there. There was very working class background. Mum's nurse, dad's an electrician. And we left school and things like that. And there was no options. It was like you could literally work in a car factory. You could work as a joiner or something. But there was no real professions. And my world, no one showed you that type of different life, right? And I remember going to Australia when I was 21 years old. And I'd never really traveled out the country much. And it was with my girlfriend at the time. And I said to myself, do you know what? I'm definitely coming back. Probably not going to be with you, but I'm definitely coming back. And it took me about 18 months. And I was working in a car factory at the time and then just really got into computers. And cut a long story short, Rick, I'm a brilliant employee for about 12 months. And then I become a nightmare. I haven't worked for anyone in 16 years. It's always been me. But I was because I got bored. And what it was is basically going to get fired, but my boss really loved me. And he said, do you know what? I'll give you 3 months money. You go and get the qualification that you want and go and get the life that you want. And I went, really? He went, yeah. I went, okay, I'm going to Australia. Within 6 weeks, passed a Microsoft qualification and flew to Aussie, didn't know anyone, didn't have a job, nothing. I didn't get into computers. That's where I found sales. And that's where I found neurolinguistics, NLP. And I was very lucky. I was trained by the top people in the world, and I became the top performer in the country within inside of 6 months. We got headhunted to New Zealand, with the real estate boom was going on, and that's how I got into real estate. And I became, cut a long story short, I broke every record in every company, and I was the top performer in the whole of New Zealand, sorry. So I was 26 years old, ego was big, thinking I was cool. And life teaches you that you're not very quick. But I got bored basically. And my friend came back from Dubai with a tiny little newspaper clipping from the Worldwide Property Fair. And my little brain back then went, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take Australian and New Zealand real estate and I'm taking it to Dubai. I went to a person that was working with us who was helping out the company. He was a much older gentleman than me, probably about my age now, actually, a bit older. I'm an old man now. But to get a business plan put together. I'd never put one together before. And he was putting together to build a project to build a resort in Fiji. He knew who I was, so we combined forces. So we took that project over. It was a $100 million resort that we were putting together. It was the first time I'd been to Fiji. It was the first time I'd worn flip-flops and shorts at the same time. This was how British I was. Yeah. And yeah, we took it to Dubai. We were selling it down next to the Palms, Dubai Land, the Burj Al Khalifa, which is the tallest building in the world. It was crazy. It was crazy. Met the Sheikh of Abu Dhabi. It was all of this stuff, right? Business was going great. Came back to New Zealand. Everything was great. 2008 happened. Market crashed. Yeah. My business partner thought it was an awesome idea to steal all my money, lie to me, watch me go into bankruptcy, watch me lose everything I had, professional model as a girlfriend, which I thought was quite important back then.
Yeah.
Cars, houses, he watched me lose everything. I had a nervous breakdown. And so I was 27 years old on the other side of the world on my own, lost everything. And I went then to basically losing everything. I went to live and train in an MMA gym. I work basically, because I've done martial arts since I've been 9 years old. So that was a huge part of my life. So I literally was living and training under a gym. That's how I rebuilt my life. And I was sitting there one day, Rick, and it was crazy to think about this. And this was such a pinnacle moment in my life, because I was sitting there and I watched my 5 Series BMW getting taken away from me out the window. And I had to have a chat with myself. And I said, do you know what, Andy? It's like, you're good at what you do. You've seen over 2,000 people face to face. What do you want? Because you can stay here, but this is just where you are. It's not who you are. And so it was that moment. It was weird. We could talk about the universe. We could talk about neuroscience. We can go whichever direction you want to go to, Rick. But it was interesting from that moment. Cut a long story short, there was whole incidences anyway, but I basically asked my friend to download every NLP thing that you can find, because I'm going to take this to a whole new level. And this was the strange thing. He gave me 100 files on a disk, like literally. And I remember looking up and going, show me where to go, man, because I have got no clue where to start. And this was weird. I went in one folder. Inside that folder went inside another folder, inside another course. And it was one guy. And I listened to the 24 CDs back to back. And then I hand wrote, comma for comma, word for word, space to space, the 24 CDs over the next month.
Wow.
And these are the kind of crazy things I used to do in the past with OCDness, right? And then guess what? I got offered a job to go to Hong Kong to work for one of the largest world real estate developers. Intuition kicked in. Instead, I borrowed money when I couldn't afford food or rent. Oh. And I flew to LA for 5 days to go to an immersion NLP course. Came back to New Zealand. I knew what I was supposed to do. Within 6 weeks, left. Went to LA. And again, didn't know a single person. Didn't have a job. And that's where I started working with professional athletes, started working with professional fighters. And that's what took me into working with like actors and entrepreneurs. I work with Saudi royalty. I work with people who are running $300, $400 million businesses. I work with special force commandos. I've worked with professional fighters. I've worked with world champion athletes. I've worked with the biggest things. I work with the top in the internet marketing world, the top in network marketing, the top in the world in Forex trading. It goes on, right? It sounds all glamorous and all the rest of it. But where I learned, what separates me, I think, is all my experience, but also I worked with a lot of trauma. I worked with post-traumatic stress disorder. I worked with chronic anxiety attacks that people were collapsing and doctors couldn't fix, and I'd fix them. I worked with OCD face-picking disorders. I worked with eating disorders, abuse, rape, all of this incredibly emotional, like intense things. And for some reason, I could just fix people. And one, I think my heart was in the right place, but two, I'd just taken all of those skills that I learned from sales and getting people from A to B. Yeah. And I just did the same thing, but with a massive more amount of technique and working with obviously the unconscious mind. And then and it's been like, I bounced all over the world. I speak all over the world. It's been an amazing ride. And I feel so blessed these days to be like known as one of the top in the world for what I do. And just to be able to spend my life helping people, because the truth is, Rick, I just don't want people to go through the pain I've been through because there was no one around me. And when I'm working with, it doesn't matter what level of person I'm working with, they could be earning 10 figures a year. They could be earning $1,000 a month, right? It's like whoever it is over the world, whoever it is in the past. The thing is, we're all just human. And we're all scared. And we all don't really know what's going on. And we all really just try our best. And it's like, I've got all of these tools, techniques, and systems and wisdom. And I just, every day, I just really do my best to share it. And that's my ride, Rick, man.
That's fantastic. And that's why we have podcasts. That's why you do. That's why I do. It's to get the word out, and there's a lot of parallels, I've been in sales for years, I have an NLP background. I had a house flipping business that crashed in 2007 and a lot of, a lot of similarities. And even knowing a lot of those things like you, anxiety and depression and all that stuff can come along. But when we find our way out of it, it's like this info has to get out there. I don't know who originally said it, but the phrase, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And, that stuff's going to happen, but we don't have to stay in it. And so it's funny. You said, all right, you really want to go down the rabbit hole. So
wherever you want to go.
I'm thinking the rabbit hole was like this, but then it went underneath the surface. There's all kinds. It's big and wide. So you covered a lot there that I want to kind of jump back into. A few things.
Absolutely.
So going all the way back, Australia.
Yeah.
You went with a girlfriend, 21, you said?
I went on my own.
Oh, you went on the first time? The first time?
Oh, yes. So sorry. Yeah. The first time I was 24 when I left on my own. The first time I went when I was 21. Yeah.
So, and you're like, I got to come back. What was it that made you want to go back? And it was probably more than Australia. Was it a sense of, I want to get out there?
It was. And it was a sense of freedom. But you know what it was? I grew up in the UK. And what that means is everyone knows you. So everyone has an opinion of you. And you end up getting pushed into this tiny little box.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
The other side is, it rains a lot, mate. It's cold. It's horrible, right? So guess what? That was the first time. I'd been to Greece once before, which blew my mind. But I'd never had money, so I never could travel. And when I went there, it was just massive. It was sunny. People were happy. Yeah. People were like, I met people. I just saw a different perspective on life. And I said to myself, well, why can't I do that? I didn't expect to be doing what I'm doing. I didn't have a clue. Yeah. But it was that freedom. And I knew in the back of my head, I could go there and I could allow myself to be me.
Yeah.
Probably for the first time in my life,
That's so cool. So it opened up the window of possibilities. It's like nothing, Australia or the world, possibilities are unlimited, unlike that sense that you had in England, where
absolutely. And my friends are still doing the same things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're still doing the same jobs. They've got growth because they've got families, but they've not had true personal growth. One of my best friends, right, who I've known since I was 7 years old. He only really over the past 12 months started to understand what I do. It's like he has no understanding about the mind, mental performance, neurology. He doesn't understand about being an entrepreneur. Yeah. He works in a factory, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Yeah. Who cares? But the difference is he was doing that 20 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's only he's just started to find his way. And he's just started to realize he's actually hyper intelligent. He absolutely loves the environment. And he starts to go and to get his degree. And he's nearly finished. But the truth is he's 40 years old. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with that. We all learn in our own time. And the truth is not everyone's supposed to be a world champion. And it's like, we have growth in our own way, right? And it's not right or wrong or good or bad.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. My wife and I were watching a documentary on Frank Lloyd Wright, the architect. And,
oh, wow.
It was really cool. It was a neat reminder that his greatest success was like in his 70s and 80s. And he had success before.
Right.
To your point, it doesn't matter the age. We can learn and grow and experience success and sorrows at any age. So
totally.
Yeah.
Do you know what little I come up with some random examples.
Yeah.
You'll probably get a few out of me today, mate.
No, bring it on.
But talking about age, and there's no definitive, like, age for anything, right? There's like, this is a randomest example you're going to get. Roseanne Barr. I told you, random.
Yeah. She
didn't get to LA, to the Comedy Store, until she was, I think it was 38 or 39 years old. Let me add to that. You might, all right, whatever. Within 4 years, she was the richest woman in the world.
Crazy. I would have never guessed.
Then she spent a lot of money. And then she just became the richest woman in America. And now who knows, right?
Right.
But the truth is, she went from unknown 4 years. 4 years. 4 years. What were you doing 4 years ago? I just started my podcast 4 years ago, Mindset by Design, right? 4 years ago. Oh, within that same period, she became the richest woman in the world.
That's crazy.
And so what I love about that, I love it, is because a statement I've said for years, and I don't know whether I created it or it came up with it. It came out the ether. Who the heck knows? But we get what we're ready to receive. And it doesn't matter what level. What I do as a job is I scale people's thinking to scale their business, to go from 5 to 6 figures, 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 plus, right? And what I know is the people say that you're earning 7 figures right now. You might be listening to this and you might be earning 7 figures, 6 figures, 5 figures, who cares? The point is, if you're earning that level of money, your neurology or your expectation, your focus, your belief, your attitude, how you value yourself, the neurochemical cocktail that's flooding through your brain and neurology, everything is matched to that level of thinking, right? So that means your discipline, your belief system, everything flows under it to create that level of you that matches your goal. That makes sense? So yeah. It's like somebody who, you don't just win a gold medal at the Olympics, right? It doesn't just happen that day, you know? So what people get, and it's social media is a nightmare for this, but it's also media in general. They show like a media bias or like a snapshot, a screenshot, a glimpse, a moment in somebody's life. And then that gets blasted everywhere. And then people have an expectation that happened fast, that they are different, that they didn't have stressful nights. They didn't have sleepless nights. They didn't cry. They didn't get emotional. They didn't like have health issues, get depressed, sad. The roller coaster, which is called life, what we get taught is, no, they're special. But right. The truth is they're not special. It's just that they've built this mind muscle, the neurology, the thoughts, and they've gone further down a specific path to learn a very specific set of skills, right? But what most people do is they jump ship to ship to ship to ship to ship, and they don't really have direction. But the people that I've found that have the biggest success have constant growth inside themselves down that one specific path. They haven't jumped ships, right? So they've been in constant growth mode. And that's how they're able to build a business to 8 figures plus, or they're able to get to $100,000 a year. It's all the same thing. We get what we're ready to receive.
I love it.
Make sense?
We get what we're ready to receive. And I heard what goes along with that is incremental growth and changes in our thinking.
Yes.
And it's not like you said, like we think, you know, where they go from here to there, but there's a building, a stretching of the mind muscles,
totally.
A tweaking of our internal pharmacy, because if we go too quickly, that internal pharmacy, we freak out. It doesn't feel right.
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 I love that word. Your internal pharmacy. It is, because we are just a chemical cocktail, right? Yeah. And we have addictive habits because we get addicted to certain set of human needs, for sure, which we all know about, I'm sure. But we also get addicted to very specific patterns because, like, you know, I'm sure, and you teach, it's our brain is always looking for that default safety mechanism, right? So it always wants to go back to certainty. It always wants to go back to safety. That's the amygdala in the brain, right? Yep. So when we start to understand that as human beings, and when we step into a new venture, or we have an idea, and this is all entrepreneurialism is. It's just we sit there and go, oh, that's a good idea. And then off we go, right? We try and build it. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But that's all Mark Zuckerberg did. That's all Elon Musk constantly does, right? He has these crazy, wild ideas and then goes and sees he can implement them. And if you listen to him and watch him in interviews, it freaks some people out, the interviewers, because they're like, well, isn't this crazy what you're trying to do? And he's like, yeah, it might not even work. And they're like, what? And he's like, yeah, it might not work. It's like, and that's like everyone's trusting Elon Musk, but the truth is he's like, I don't know, I'm just trying my best.
Starts with an idea. I don't have it all figured out.
Not at all. He's digging holes under LA.
Yeah.
Think about that, right? Who else in the world would be allowed to dig holes under LA?
Yeah. For our listeners that don't know what you're talking about, digging holes under LA, he's creating, what's it called? Hyperloop?
No, yes, a super something. But what it is, he's trying to eliminate traffic. So what he's done is he's dug these massive transport routes, like tunnels under the ground, which they're able to. Teslas, by the way, they're actually a cable that you can connect to, so it's automatic. But we can then what he's trying to do is everyone drops down under the ground and then shoots along. Gets pulled along these tunnels, and so. That's insane. He's trying to take the human species to Mars because he gives it, we need for the survival of the human race, we need to be an interplanetary species. Where's that come from? Right. He created PayPal, or one of the people who created PayPal.
Yeah.
It's like Tesla. He's created like the fastest car in the world. It's electric. He's created, we know SpaceX, but then he's created solar, which is energy. So he's radically changing the energy. It's like, where did this come from? Right? It's just ideas.
Yeah. He's stretched his muscles of imagination, of creativity, of possibilities.
Exactly.
Which is wild.
And so that brings you to, why can't people, like anybody, do that? And I'm not saying to dig a tunnel or take us to Mars.
Right.
But
stretch.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's stretched his boundary of what's defined as possible. And what's defined as possible is society has defined that. Yeah. Not him, not anybody else. Society has put a boundary around what is possible for the average person or the normal person around what is expected you can do in your life. But the truth is, whose rules are they? They're not yours. They're not mine.
Unless we accept them.
Unless we, accept them, right? Yeah. So I love that. Because if we start to understand, and I know you'll get to this topic, but if we start to understand how the brain works and we start to understand neuroscience, and especially the study around neuroplasticity, what that means is that the brain is constantly malleable. So the old concept, we can't teach a dog new tricks, well, that ain't true. That's not true at all. Because you can, right? Because the neurology or the mind muscle, it wants to constantly adapt and change. It wants to. And that's how human species has actually evolved, because we've been put in certain environments, and how we adapt is genetically adapt, and how we adapt is actually our brain adapts to the environment, and that's how we survive. So if the apocalypse ever comes, the human species will adapt, right? It will.
Figure it out, yeah.
Figure it out. But that's the beautiful thing about life. Even in those moments, I've had so many business partners rip me off and let me down, and I've been in a mess so many times in my life. But I know that the next idea, the next decision, the next motivation, putting myself around the right people, of immersing myself and my brain in the right books, the right videos, the right everything, creates a totally different world. And then guess what? My experience around me just changes radically with it. Make sense?
Absolutely. So speaking of stretching and resiliency, I can hear the resiliency in you that, you have been screwed over, if you will, and left behind, and yet you have bounced back. I'm interested in that time period after 2008. you're working out, you start having these mind flips, these ahas, and you decide, I'm going to LA. I'm doing this. I'm starting over.
Yeah.
What was your belief, mindset? What took you from New Zealand, was it?
Yeah, New Zealand at the
To
time.
LA, and then to find clients. Tell me what was going through your mind, how that worked internally and externally.
Easy. And I'd probably say the thing that probably most people won't. Most people say, I was inspired. I want to go and help change the world. No, the truth, pure pain. Pure pain.
It's a great motivator.
It's a great motivator for a while, right?
Yeah.
For a while. But the reason it was so pain is because I knew I was more than where I was at, like I said before. So I knew there was another path. I didn't know what it was, but I knew there was more. And so I used that motivator of pain to push away from, right? It's like putting your hand on the fire. Ow, 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 ow. But eventually you have to push away from it. That creates that internal motivator. So I didn't know where I was going, Rick, but what I did know is I was going to do everything I could not to be where I was.
Yeah.
That is powerful. So we'd step into LA, and guess what it makes you do? It makes you go and meet everybody. What else does it do? It makes you not think about fear because it makes you take action.
Yeah.
It just makes you go after it, right? And see what happens. I was the person that didn't have any money, living on credit cards, but guess what? Would drive from Orange County to San Diego, then to LA, to the Orange County in the same day to take somebody else out for a coffee, to buy somebody else dinner, just so I could learn to build my network, to be around them, to get experience. And this is what I did constantly for years until you get that tipping point.
Yeah.
Right? And when I was going back, we're talking 12 plus years ago now, when I first get to LA, and the coaching industry wasn't there. Didn't really exist. There was Tony Robbins and a few others out there, but that was it, man. And I started obviously with working with professional fighters, mixed martial artists, right? Yep. So my job at the start was teaching people about coaching. Now it's just whatever, right? Everyone understands the mind and performance and this and that. But back then, especially, 16 years ago, but 12 years ago, no one even knew what it was.
Yeah.
So I spent all my time educating people. I was one of the first people to bring it in, like neurolinguistics, but a mindset into mixed martial arts. And,
awesome.
and that became my drive. So I just worked out over time by working with so many different types of people, what types of people I really wanted to work with. And I discovered that was entrepreneurs. Why? Because we're all crazy. We're all crazy. And all the things that I was dealing with trauma and this and that and this. Well, stop dealing with all of that individually. Understand that is entrepreneurs. So anything that we want, like all the problems, all of this, the drive, the money, it's all entrepreneurs. And I love it. I love it because entrepreneurs, I really do believe, shift the world. You know what I mean? And entrepreneurs is also a modern word. It's like businessman was the word before. Before that, it was something else, right? It's just a different word.
Well, what I love about working with entrepreneurs, and you talked about it, the connection. They're very similar to athletes. They're big thinkers. They're used to pushing themselves. There's a part of them, while they may have their doubts and insecurities, there's that drive that believes in themselves.
Yeah.
Just like
you don't have to, you can't teach that, or you maybe can teach that, but you can't. You don't have to teach that.
It's got to be there somewhat.
Yeah, it's already there inside of them, And I don't know whether that's genetic expression, but I don't know. I don't know if I was grew or born to be an entrepreneur, or it's just it found that path because it allowed me. This is the truth, right? I don't like people telling me what to do. Yeah. That's right. So I found a way that I can work from my laptop, be anywhere I want to be in the world, and yet nobody can tell me what to do. If I screw up, my fault, right? I'll take it on the shoulders. If I get success, cool, I'll take it on my shoulders. But I don't really, I look at entrepreneurism as like someone having kids. Right, let me explain what I mean by that.
Yeah.
It's one, it's your little baby that you're growing. Two, I treat it as a mirror. And what I mean by that, like having a kid, I don't have kids, by the way, I'm just watching. I've got two nephews and two nieces. But it's like who I've seen having kids. It's like a direct mirror to show you where your own growth is. Because if you're reacting, if you're stressed, if you're doing all these things, then you're going to see that in the kid. If your kid is happy, content, growing, evolving, then guess what you're probably doing, right?
Yeah.
The same with business. This is a statement I said. It's on my website, bang on, because I created something called the Business Brain Assessment, which is, it's a whole different thing. Go on the website, you can check it out. But I say this statement. Your mind is your business is your mindset. Fact. It just is.
Yeah.
Right? And I've seen it at every level. I've just seen it at every level. And I've seen people stuck, and I've seen people make millions of dollars that year. And it's just your mind is your business is your mindset. Fact. And if your mind's a mess, I'm probably guessing your business is the same. If your business is a mess, well, let's have a look inside your mind, because I'm telling you what's going on.
Your mind is your business is your mindset.
Fact.
Yeah. And for those of us who are in business, entrepreneurs, you cannot not agree with that. It makes sense. And I think so many of us have felt it and seen it, in the subtle ways. When I was just talking about this recently, like when you change your schedule or you make a little tweak, let's say you're allowing more time for meditation, or you're scheduling more time for clients.
Beautiful.
You just make that move and the universe follows.
Yeah.
It's like
I really believe that.
Change it up here and then it happens.
Cause and effect.
Yeah.
Right? We create whatever is inside of our mind, and we focus on that enough, the neurology builds, which becomes the dominant focus. That dominant focus then can affect our filter system in our brain, our reticular activating system. Yeah. But it's like imagine you're at your window and you've got blinds, and like the light's there, but it's not coming through. And we turn the blinds and we open them up, the light comes through, but it was always there. Yeah. This is the same with our filter system. It's the same with our focus. It's the same with our life. And we get what we focus on the most. It's an old saying, right? But it's the truth. But from my side, it's the neurology building. But I'm also very spiritual, as well as being deeply immersed in the science world. I need both. But guess what is really the dominant thing? It's really the universe and the spirituality, right? It's like I use all these tactics and techniques and systems, state change, into patterns, delete neurology, all of this stuff, right? Whatever. But really, it's just all under it all. It's just to increase our frequency inside of the universe, right? So it doesn't matter if you're listening to this and you're like, Andy, you're just talking about business and making money and you work with all of these people, and I'm just sitting at home and I just can't get myself together. I can't even get off the couch, right? Well, I get it. We've all been there. And so my first question would be, what are you putting in your head every day, right? If you're watching horror films every day, right? I know what your thinking's like by the end of that month, right? If you're watching everything about Richard Branson or whoever, right? Einstein or whoever the heck you want, right? Gary Vaynerchuk. If you're watching everything every day about that, then guess what? The dominant thoughts are in your head. So if we're constantly immersing ourselves in things that create a feeling of sadness or stress or fear inside of us. What did I say about neuroplasticity? The brain is going to adapt to that because it thinks that's what it wants. That's what it thinks is happening in your life. So it wants to make you fit in. basically adapt and evolve to it. But if you're putting everything that's inspirational and reading books and researching and meditating and listening to audios and all the rest of it every day, then you're just going to live a different world. And staying on the couch then just seems like a distant memory. Staying on the couch just seems stupid.
Right.
It just seems a waste of time, right? And when we start to understand that, and I've seen what it's like behind. I've gone to palaces with Saudi royalty. I've seen what it's all like. You take the money away, the money worries away, there's no difference.
Well,
it's like the humans we look for fear. We're gonna still have all the same issues. It's just not about money. It's no difference, right? So when people use the excuse as I don't have money, or when they use the excuse as I don't have money to do this, or money stopping me, it's not true.
It's only an excuse. Yeah. It's only an excuse. It's only a belief.
It's only a belief. And the thing about beliefs is, what, Rick? They're not real, right? Yeah. It's just as something we hold as true at the time with the information that we have. And the thing is about the brain is like I said before, and it's something I sure you teach and all the rest of it, but we have such outdated genetics and we're constantly living in a fear response. And the sad thing about, it's definitely not conspiracy, but we'll go down the path of understanding society as a business. It's a business. And when you start to understand every country, it shouldn't be a business, but it is a business. It should be helping and growing and nurturing people, but it's not. It's a business.
Never has, never will be. It'll always be.
Well, hopefully it will be one day, but you're probably not, right?
Yeah.
And when we start to understand it's a business, and that business wants you to think, feel, and act a very certain way. Why? Because it wants you to be another cog in the vehicle, which is the business. Yeah. And that's to me, what schooling's about. That's to me what college is about. That to me, they want you to be another cog in society, whether that's being a lawyer or a doctor or taking the garbage out or the rubbish, as they say in the UK. It's whatever it is, that becomes a vehicle to create society to work. If we all become entrepreneurs, guess what would happen? That vehicle wouldn't work the same way, right? And I'm not saying for everyone to be an entrepreneur, because the truth is, if we all laid out what we truly want in life and you were honest, we all wouldn't want the same things. Right. People think they want fame until they get it. People think they want money until they get it, and they realize the things that they wanted to buy with that money, they don't want anymore. You know what I mean? And when you get a certain level of money in the bank, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be 3 months. You got 3 months covered, bills covered. Brilliant, right? We feel safe. 6 months, wow, 12 months. What happens then is you just watch the number go up and down. It doesn't do anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then you get the extreme sides. And I've seen all this, and I've worked with these people who have bought everything you can possibly imagine. Why are they sad? Right, because they bought everything and they realized that we're dopamine hitting for a while, so we're constantly feeling good. And then what happens after the dopamine hit, the pleasure response doesn't work the same way. And then we feel unsatisfied.
Another hit.
You know what I mean? If we were bought Lamborghinis when we were 10 years old, a Lamborghini wouldn't be the same to everybody.
Yeah, so that's a great reminder, and really on a lot of levels, it's pretty profound, what you said about as it relates to our beliefs and our role in the cog of our cultural business, if you will. And that's just a reminder that we can question our beliefs, our perceived place in the world, our self-imposed limits as to what will make us happy. And that a lot of it does come from just it's all learned beliefs, learned behaviors. And so I tell my clients all the time, I tell myself, if I believe that, if I act that way, if I think that way, I can learn a different way. I didn't come into the world like that. And to your point, we fall into the cog of, like you said, where you grew up, it was, you had 10 options,
Maybe three,
whatever it was. And you said, gratefully, wonderfully, you had a trip into the other side of the world and saw, I don't have to buy into that.
Right. And it was a beautiful thing. And it anyone can do anything. And there's a difference. I was reading a book recently, and this was a profound thing. There's another thing you need to know about me is I really don't like the personal development industry. And let me explain why, right? Yeah. One, it's cheesy as heck. To me, it's way outdated. And people regurgitate the same crap without any wisdom behind it. They haven't been through everything. And then you've got all these self-proclaimed gurus and coaches these days that have learned to market themselves as high-end coaches with zero experience, right? And it's just hurting people, and it's actually damaging the coaching world.
Right.
And I have a whole issue around this, right? You shouldn't be able to coach something you don't have experience or wisdom around, right? Or life experience. People are way overcharging for the results that they're delivering. And it is to do with internet marketing. And they've just taught people to be marketers, not coaches. And it drives me crazy because people are getting hurt by this. And again, I just had clients, like, literally, it's not a client, it's someone who's contacted me going, Andy, I know you can help me. I have got money. Like, I just can't get past these money blocks. And she had a focus session with me, which is something I used to do, which was like about 12 months ago. And she was going into doing all this. And I was saying, you'll get down this path. And I'm telling you exactly what's going to happen, because I'm telling you the patterns that are going on in your head right now. This is where you need to start. Yeah, I know. No. Goes and does these other courses, does all this. Same situation. Then guess what she did? She bought a brilliant coach.
Quotes.
Yeah, quote. Yeah, sorry, forgot you can't see me. Quote. And it was like to go through their program to get me over my money patterns, my money fears. And I was like, oh, great. How did it go? Well, she gives it, well, I just got me in debt.
Yeah, that hurts.
What?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that breaks my heart. So that person earned $1 million because, look, I earned $1 million. But you just damaged a load of people on the way.
Right.
That breaks my heart. It breaks my heart when the truth is, when we start to understand that the people who taught us our beliefs around money were probably our parents or someone like that, right?
Right.
Well, I don't know about you, but my parents didn't have any money. Mm-hmm. So why were they teaching me beliefs about money and life when the life sucked and they didn't have any money? Yet I'm the one that took those beliefs on because I was very young, and those are the people that I trusted and looked up to, which created my values, and my values from there created my beliefs, right? So you end up believing beliefs from people who just didn't have a clue. That's like, it's different these days. I used to use this analogy for years, but people actually believe the earth's flat these days. Some people anyway, right? I used to say all the time. It's like beliefs are like just not real. It's like the earth was flat once, right? Well, right. Was it? Well, no. But we treated it as if it was. We didn't go around the world.
Around the sun. Yeah.
Right. You get the idea, right? Yeah. So it's only beliefs around with the information we hold true at the time. It's only beliefs that we have with our knowledge. And if you're constantly around people who are broke, sad, stressed, overwhelmed, in life's crappy and in a mess, then your brain is just going to adapt to that. Right? So even when I'm back in the UK, and I've got massively successful friends in London, but when I'm from Liverpool, and when I go back to Liverpool, and I've just come back about a month ago, and I had a knee surgery, and it got to that point, like, and I'm pretty good at what I do, and I'm pretty headstrong and I've got a million skills and all the rest of it. But 3-4 months there started to like chew on me, you know? Oh yeah, all those negative anchors, those negative triggers. And I've worked so much on this, but we're never perfect. And there's no such thing as gurus, right?
Yep.
So, but I'm constantly around and surrounded by who? People that are not like me anymore. People that the rest of my life and the rest of my world, are all successful, driving forwards, entrepreneurs. I really don't know anyone who's not an entrepreneur anymore besides the people that I grew up with, my girlfriend's family. That's it.
Yeah.
Everyone else, and I know thousands and thousands of people, and they're all entrepreneurs or trying to be, or have the ambition to do something special in the world, you know?
The mindset,
Yeah, exactly. Or growth, or want to do something, or chasing something, or trying the hardest. And I don't care about the success. What I care about is your heart. What I care about is you giving it everything you've got to see what you can do in life. It was funny, a couple of years ago, I brought on a development team and I put a lot of money into them and they let me down. And I was in a bit of a mess, right? This is, again, all of this is like, doesn't matter what life you want, right?
Yeah.
And I brought in, again, the universe synchronized something with me.
Yep.
And it synchronized a friend of mine who definitely doesn't need to do coaching. He's worth a few $100 million, but he was bored in between projects and he coached me. Right? Very lucky. And I said to him, man, I'm in a mess right now. And he's like, his reaction, oh yeah, it's all good. We've all been there. That was it. It's like, now what you going to do? It's all good. Who cares? Whatever. We've all been there a million times. Now what you going to do? It's like, well, let's go. Okay. So it takes away all the excuses.
Yeah.
When we start to understand that every single person in the world that's ever had success in anything has been through the ride that you're going through right now, but they just kept moving, growing, evolving, changing, adapting, going deeper into meditation, going deeper into visualization, going deeper into networking, going deeper into immersing themselves into a world. That's what creates change.
I love it.
You're
getting me pumped.
As you can tell, bud, I go on a few rants.
That's fantastic. Oh, yeah, perfect timing because we are getting short on time. The speckle round is here.
Oh yeah, the speckle round.
The speckle round. So
I'm excited.
Excellent. So we're going to throw out a few speckle round questions and then we'll wrap things up. So let's see. How about speckle round question? Something that people can carry with them. A word or phrase of the day. Anything on top of your head? I know you've shared a few, but
yeah, I give you a quote that I live by, right?
Awesome.
And I say webinars and everything. It's a pretty long quote, but it's by Bruce Lee. Okay,
Bruce Lee, the
martial artist, right? Because everything comes back to martial arts for me.
Yeah.
And I'll explain it afterwards, and I'll be quick because I know we've got time. So we'll run out of time. So. Don't be afraid of the man who practices 10,000 kicks once. Be afraid of the man who practices one kick 10,000 times. So what I mean by that is we're building muscle. This is mind muscle. So what happens in life is we jump ship, like I explained before. We're constantly looking for the shiny object syndrome. We're constantly looking for that dopamine hit, but we don't build a foundation. So what happens where I've been able to bounce back real fast off stuff and create success is because I'm always going back to foundation and basics, routines, interrupting patterns, meditation, visualization, inputting. That's what creates a solid foundation, right? That's my Bruce Lee quote. So we always come back to building the basics. It will always allow you to come to that next stage.
So the quote again is, don't be afraid of the guy or the person
who practices 10,000 kicks once. Be afraid of the guy who practices one kick 10,000 times. So we get good at the basics. Then the rest is simple.
Yeah, I love it. And it ties into what you said earlier, that those who find success find it in a field because they've been working at it.
That's it.
They haven't hopped around. They've done that kick, one kick 10,000 times. And
you got it.
It's a great reminder. That's a mic drop. That's a great place to wrap things up. I mean, really, this is awesome. We covered a lot. I got
Good.
goosebumps. There's
Good.
a lot of great stuff.
Beautiful.
So for people that want more of this great stuff, tell me about your podcast, any other resources that they could tap into your
Yeah.
wisdom.
Absolutely. I just obsessed with helping, and if I can help you and you resonated with this, then I'll help you more, podcast, you can find it on every platform. It's called Mindset by Design. We've done about 215 or so episodes, and world-class guests. I go on crazy rants. It's like, it's all technical, and you'll love it. It's not just for entrepreneurs, although there's a lot of entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
The other thing is, if you are an entrepreneur or in business and there's something I created, and I truly believe it's the most, it stands out. It's the best mental performance training system that exists on earth. And I'll put it against anything. It's profound. It's built around NLP, neuroscience, gamification. It's called the 8-Figure Thinker. And the reason I called it 8-Figure Thinker is because everyone's talked about 7 figures, it stretches people's boundaries. But the reason I say this is, imagine your life and your business right now through 8-figure eyes. How would your problems look? They're gone. How would your drive be, right? So if we can install that way of thinking right now, your life changes fast, right? So what I've done is put together a beautiful, it's amazing in-depth training, man. Just go to 8figurethinker.com. It's there. Sign up, do it. You can buy the thing at the end or not buy it, whatever. Just go. It's fantastic training. I'm very proud of it, and I know it's going to help. Even the feedback I get just from that one free training, it's like 90 minutes long. It's going to really help you no matter what.
Fantastic. So 8-Figure Thinker, 8, the number 8.
That's it.
Figurethinker.com.
That's it. Or you can just go to mindsetbydesign.co and click on webinar. It'll be there too.
Mindsetbydesign.co.
.co, yeah.
.co, yeah. Awesome. Well, so this was, I don't know if I think I've mentioned it a couple times on the podcast. When I go and speak somewhere, I have a little, it's a pink plastic spoon, and
cool.
it's a tie-in to Baskin Robbins when you get a little flavor of ice cream.
I like it.
And you've given us a great little flavor. My little pink spoons, they actually change colors. When you put them in something cold, they go from.
I've seen those. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So it's a reminder that we have the ability to change, and this. This podcast with you has been a great reminder on a number of different levels, as well as a great pink spoon. So if they want more, if they want the pint, the quart, the gallon or more, go to 8figurethinker.com or mindsetbydesign.co, or the podcast. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Andy. Thanks for the great hour that we spent together. So I loved it.
My pleasure, Rick. It's been, I appreciate you inviting me on, and I appreciate Wade mentioning me. And yeah, man, it's any way I can help. And I really appreciate spending time with you, mate. It's been really nice to get to know you.
It has on my side as well. Thanks.